So I just finished watching Other Voices Part 1, and where can I get my giant golden Unicron head? Seriously, it's been how long and that hasn't happened? Otherwise known as the Giant Mushroom episode, this one is about the Vok activating a, for lack of a better term, communication room of some sort. Another one of their constructs on the planet. And this was one that both Maximal and Predacon end up investigating. And then it turns into a giant trigger. A trigger that will wipe out everything on the planet. You know, one of the good triggers. Uh, this was originally meant to be a 4-part episode, but apparently it was hard for them to schedule anything beyond a 2-parter because you got to remember the whole cast would have to be there for the whole thing for like, however long it would take to record 4 episodes worth of material. I'm not into dubbing. I don't know how long that takes, but in this case, they cut it down to 2, and ironically, I think breaking it up that way kind of set the tone for the rest of how Beast Wars was written. That rather than the episodic episodes that kind of filled season 1, more of the episode to episode, the ongoing story arcs that we kind of know the show for. It kind of started accidentally, and it's nice to see here. A lot of things from the previous episode carried over. So it is essentially part 2, really, when you think about it. That includes the truce between the Maximals and the Predacons. This is also the first of the other V episodes. Everything else everything else involving the aliens, other voices, other victories, it's all other V. You got to keep that theme going and to try to keep up the scheme, I guess. The Vok have a very particular method of titling their appearances. So, the episode itself is, it's a setup episode. Let's be fair, because you're dealing with a 2-parter here. There's a lot of things going on in the episode, but it's a little bit weird judging it on its own because all of it leads into part 2. There's no like there is a climactic moment here, but yeah, it is definitely feels like a midpoint. It doesn't feel like something that could just end on that moment, so it's weird, so we're gonna forego a judgment at the end of this episode. We're just gonna kind of go and talk about it as it is. So like I said, the truce is still on, which is nice to see. It's nice to see the continuity between episodes. The thing about the truce is it's still kind of a loose version of a truce. Trap and Waspinator essentially have a fist fight that, of course, Waspinator is involved, so it became very one-sided. But still, they actually they just beat each other up, and that's still considered part of the truce. Rat Trap used his little rolling attack again. He actually Sonic the Hedgehog Waspinator and kicked him in the groin. Yeah, I've made comments about these characters being more lifelike, even humanoid, more than they technically should be, because the robots, I'm going to assume there's just a lot of dense circuitry down there, maybe a recharge port that's really sensitive, I don't know, something down there really upset Waspinator's day. So, the thing to this episode, when the alien machine activates this time, Air Razor's caught inside of it. So she's the first one they start, for lack of a better term, scanning, investigating. I don't like her being the damsel in distress in this episode. I wouldn't have minded if it was Rat Trap that was stuck inside and Air Razor was the one that had to do the rescuing part. Especially considering once we get to season 2, we're barely going to see any Air Razor. So this feels like a last chance they had to give her some moments, and she gets a couple good bits in here once we break the ceasefire. But I don't know. I feel like she could have been a little bit more in the hero role here rather than Rat Trap. Let's see. Where am I going? Yep. There is a moment where Primal reaches what is essentially the giant mushroom. I don't know what else to call it. It just looks like a big fungus. And Megatron meets him there. Like, the Maximals are trying to cut their way in. They can't. Predacons show up, and they have there's actually a weird like moment where Primal knows exactly what Megatron is planning in order to get in. And it's weird to see that even if for a moment they're actually kind of getting along and cooperating. Even that is the wrong phrase for it. They're civil. Let's call it that. They're civil with each other. Even that feels weird. Even that feels really weird. So, but it is interesting to see. And kind of fun to see. I kind of wish we had that episode where like there's some alien threat that forced the Maximals and Predacons to work together for the whole episode. I feel like that would have been fun and given us a few different dynamics that we didn't ever get in Beast Wars. So, I'm going to say here, like Megatron throughout all of this is very calculating. Very, very pragmatic in his decisions. It's going to come to a head when we talk about the next episode, but for now it's just worth touching on. Megatron here is calculated, which is excellent to see. We get our first real experience with the Vok in this one. Once they have Primal and they can talk to him directly, they take the form of Unicron, which is a massive ego stroke. The excuse is that we do not have a physical form you can comprehend, which is automatically nonsense when you realize later in season 3 they absolutely do have a physical form. They're just floating faces. So the idea is to like, we're so high above you that this is the highest form of authority that we can pull from your data tracks, and it's Unicron. So it's a weird way of getting a Unicron cameo. Just Unicron's head just casually floating there chatting to Primal. Interestingly, we've seen 2 Unicron cameos in just this season alone. Fun that, isn't it? So what the big mushroom turns out to be is an activation trigger. And once everything happens and the Primal breaks free. By the way, the Vok do mention a line. They have a line here where like they claim they're gonna terminate the experiment, which means they're gonna blow up the planet. But they say like there's more danger than you know. Like if they don't abort this testing right now, something even worse is going to happen. But that's never touched on again. We have no idea what they meant. Honestly, I don't think the writers knew what they meant. When you go and look up the history of the Vok, everyone kind of had their own thing, Everyone just kind of had their own idea of what the Vok were supposed to be or what they were doing. So I get the feeling they were ambiguous and mysterious, even to the writers for a while. But once it's all said and done, it activates the second moon, strips it down, and turns into this. There's a very ominous sequence where the surface of the moon is stripping away. You see all these spikes that are coming off the surface. Everything starts lighting up, and everything starts transforming. It's very like intimidating. Like what is going on? Like whatever is about to happen, it's the Majora's Mask moment of, oh no, the moon is the threat. But like I said, it's a build-up episode. It sets up a lot. It even sets up our new characters in season 2 because the big surge of energy that the moon lets out actually knocks all the stasis pods out of orbit, which is weird because we only touch on like 5 of them. If I'm counting right, 5 of them are what we touch on throughout season 2, and that's pretty much the last we ever hear of stasis pods. There are dozens floating in the space, and no, we're going to cover 5, and I guess we're just never going to mention the rest. But that leaves us on a big cliffhanger for part 2, and of course, season enders on Beast Wars, man, they do not kid around. So like I said, I'm foregoing a grade for this one. We'll talk about a grade next time. when we talk about Other Voices Part 2. So, I'm sorry for the wait on this one, but the next one will be coming soon. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.